love, retrogrades, commitments, eclipses, equinoxes, planets and asteroids. Oh my. You know, it was an asteroid that made the dinosaurs extinct. There's a lot going on up there, and it's influencing things out here and in here.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand it can be scary and daunting, but Mercury, Juno, Venus, so much going on. And here is Kendall Rose, our resident astrologer and tantric mystic, who's going to help us sort it all out. Venus in retrograde. Is it time to break up? Is that time to leave that relationship? Well, it may not be what you think. So join us. This is going to be a good one.
Welcome to a new paradigm, a new way of being, free from shame, self-limitation, or cultural programming. Welcome to a new you, a new world full of endless possibilities. Welcome to your Tantric awakening.
Hi, my name is Andre Knight.
And I'm Kendall.
And we've probably scared you with that introduction. There's no need to be afraid. While there may be some endings to things that are no longer serving you, Venus retrograde, as I understand it, actually invites you to revisit the past of this relationship and past relationships to see where there are things that were left unhealed. And then coupled with Juno, help us make sense of this.
Yeah, there's so much going on right now. And retrograde is a time where you get to reflect and really slow down and reassess and pause. It's like this sacred moment for you to just really be still and allow for more space to let things come up in your internal subconscious realm. So it's a really great opportunity, especially with, the spring energy that just arrived. It's a great time for all of us to take ownership, to take accountability for things that have been under the hood, under the subconscious, because anything that we don't really look at, whether that be, Mercury, which is the planet of communication, if we don't look at how we're communicating in relationships, it's going to come up right now. If, with regards to Venus in retrograde, there's so much, especially depending on where Venus is in your chart, in which house it's highlighting. But right now, there's an opportunity to look at how you relate to your own self-worth, your values, and really your own sense of self, especially with that Aries energy. We just entered into this Aries season. So yeah, there's a lot. And then the tantric goddess, Juno herself, she is here. She has just, gone into retrograde, and she's going to be there for 4 months. And how I see it is this is a portal for every one of us to be able to reflect on how we're relating to each other, right? In commitments, whether that be as lovers, whether that be as business partners, whether that be as friends. This is a really great time where you can really take the time, right? To really have the deeper conversations, have those tougher conversations, go to therapy, receive an astrology reading. This is really a great time, because just because you might be going through a lot right now, and all of us are. I mean, both of us are in our own initiations ourselves, but this is a great time for you to be launched into the next season. Spring Equinox is all about new beginnings. And so also with new beginnings, I would say it's also recognizing that as we up level, as we grow in our consciousness and our energy, and we weave and integrate these shadows into our bodies, we get to rise. We get to step into that next level. And so there doesn't have to be, I would say as well, no fear. I mean, fear may come up, But yeah, retrogrades to me are an opportunity to become more authentic, because it's so easy to get caught up in like going, and retrogrades do cause us to slow down in various ways. So yeah.
Okay. Well, you mentioned fear, and usually people are like, oh, retrograde, run for the hills. But I can see where you're dealing with some scary things, right? It's always a little uncertain when you look within because you don't know what you might find. And I can see where people avoid it at any cost because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So it's not like really fear is in bad. It's fear is in like you're going to face what you've been putting off.
Yeah, fear. When I feel fear, because I do, it's a human experience. We all experience it. I see fear as the same dialogue within myself as courage. And so if I ever feel fear coming up, I really go back to what's coming up for me. I really go back to like, where is this in my body? And this is because I've been surrounding myself as well with somatic practitioners that are really passionate and embodying regenerative wealth in various ways and how they show up in the world. So yeah, it's like really going into, if you are feeling fear, if you're facing a lot of things around like how you communicate with other people, maybe you're seeing yourself in a really harsh light and you're like, ooh, there's so much coming up for me. The biggest thing that you can do right now is really be mindful of how you're talking to yourself. Really, like the person that is the most important, I feel, especially in Mercury going retrograde, for example, is really how are you talking to yourself? How are you navigating these moments where maybe you made a mistake and you're like, oh my gosh, like I just said that to this person. Well, it's not about necessarily, I mean, yes, take ownership of what you have said, but more so than anything, integrate what that is and allow yourself to be the person you want to be, right? You don't have to, this is the thing about any retrograde. It's like, if things are coming up for you, it's an opportunity for you to really take ownership and take responsibility for. And so, yeah, it's really exciting from the inside out. When you
talk about healing relationships and healing commitments, so the first and foremost, the relationship with yourself, because that's going to be the longest relationship of your life. You're in that relationship from the moment you're born till the moment you die. So first and foremost, the relationship with yourself, where maybe with some of that negative self-talk, have you left wounds or scars that need a little kind of tender, loving, and integrating. It's like finding the fragments and reassembling, reweaving yourself back into a whole.
Yeah, it's coming back to like point zero, like with anything. It's being able to be the alchemist, become the alchemist, recognizing that you don't need to be a victim of whatever's coming up for you. And you get to be the hero of your own journey. And I think that's why why I'm so excited that she's retrograding right now, which on the mainstream, Juno is not getting a lot of coverage, I'll be honest. Like it's Venus, it's Mercury, but Juno is all about tantric union, tantric's expansion. It's all about also like the shadows of Juno are self-betrayal, self-abandonment. Where are you giving your power away? Like this is the dance of when I look at like a chart, for example, it's that balance between self-individuation, like self-actualization, that Aries energy, which is like, I am me, and Vesta, the goddess of very much self-agency, and then that balance in partnership in Juno energy, which is all about weaving together. And so there's so much to that as well, as you know.
Weaving together and commitments. And of course, your romantic relationships spring to mind. But it's really, it can be commitments at work. It can be commitments with routines and habits.
Absolutely.
That's one sometimes we just run on autopilot, and not make conscious choices. So when it goes in just like Venus in retrograde is healing things that were unhealed from the past, Juno going retrograde is almost like, let's revisit some of these agreements we've made or defaulted into and see if they're still serving us.
Mm-hmm.
and let go of the ones that aren't, and revise and refine the ones you're going to keep to make them serve you even better. So it's
Yep.
like re-examining routines, re-examining habits, re-examining
Mm-hmm.
business partnerships. It shows up in so many ways in our lives. So I guess the invitation is to see, like, yeah, what are you committing to, and are you spending your energy in the right place, the right places?
Right. And it really reminds me too of Uranus. So the planet of rebellion, innovation, challenging the status quo is literally in Taurus right now. Taurus is, as you are a Taurus, Taurus is very stable. It's like the values, it's very homey energy. It's very the sensualist, and the fact that Uranus is there, it's like, it's inviting us to, yes, see what we've created as far as values, and also be okay, and not even just be okay, but allow yourself to be challenged by what you've known, what you've known as the home, even what you've known as relationship itself. It's a great time. Uranus is like, there's opportunity to even challenge relationship dynamics, right? Like, for example, the nuclear family. For example, stepping beyond what you've known, which I know you and I have been initiated on that journey in our relationship. I know that's been a lot of my journey, but yeah, there's a lot. If I'm looking at the chart of the day, it's like Uranus is also sextiling, which is a very good synergy, which between Mars and Cancer. So there's a lot of like balance of we're challenging our value systems, and we're also being asked to reflect on how we are connecting with our emotional body as well. Like, how are we connecting with the values that we do have? Are they bringing up things in our bodies right now? Because our emotions, when Mars is in Cancer, it's like, it's very sensitive. It's very like related to the home energy. Cancer is all about home. So if you're feeling like, ooh, like there's a lot in my relationships right now, like in my conversations at work, that's just a lot right now. Like, it's all coming up, right, for whoever's listening, so that you can really integrate this energy. Just because there's change happening in your world and your business and your relationship doesn't mean it's necessarily wrong or bad. It's actually, very much Uranus coming in hot with some exciting energy. So all is well. All is well. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it can be overwhelming. A lot's going on, but on the whole, this is for your benefit. This is for your healing and for your growth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's also one other thing too. It's also connecting with that inner, like, challenging your own values. It's very connected with Saturn and Pisces energy, which it's that Piscean energy is very mystical and dreamlike. And Saturn, when Saturn's in that placement, there's also like boundaries and creating structures for your life. So yeah, this is just like boundaries, creating new value systems, allowing yourself to shift in this time. Yeah, it's a really, really expanding portal right now for a lot of people.
And I know you were telling me prior to us hopping on in the air here, like it's also like very much like a collective healing too. Like, you go through your individual healing, but then you're also impacting the collective healing. And you mentioned Aries early on. So Aries, as I understand it, is action, right? So
absolutely.
What would like healing through action look like?
Healing through action. Well, taking action. For example, a big thing for me right now, I can speak on like taking action in Aries is in its first house energy. If I'm looking at a chart, it's all about the body. So like for me, for example, like I'm super dedicated to going to the gym, working out. Like I'm really focused on the temple. So when I think about taking action, that's how I'm taking action. I'm showing up, I'm disciplining myself. And that's been really, really cool. And I, just really keeping yourself accountable and not judging yourself if you haven't been in that space of maybe taking action, because inaction, not to say that inaction's bad, but there's a time and place for everything, right? If you maybe are pausing, in a sacred pause right now, I also think that's really beautiful as well. And pausing is a big thing of the retrogrades. So it really is specific to a person's chart as well in looking at their chart. But looking at the chart of the moment right now, there's a lot of excitement energy going on. Aries is very about self agency, the sense of self, the body. Yeah.
And I imagine during a time like this, like emotions can get more intense too.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you, what's the best way to like balance the emotions as you go through this transformation process?
Balance, if I'm looking at like what's balance at a deeper level, balance comes to me in a regulation.
We just had an equinox, actually. I mean, that is literally the embodiment of balance.
Mm-hmm.
Equal day and night, right
Mm-hmm.
on the equator, and then the days start getting longer than the nights. So it's you mentioned Tantra. I mean, it's when the masculine and the feminine energies are in perfect balance, not just the length of the day and the night.
Yeah. So with the equinox right now and this portal that we're all in, it's really important to acknowledge the dance between that feminine and masculine energy. And what I personally love to look at, especially in light of the energy bodies and these cosmic beings called the sun and the moon, is acknowledging, for example, how the sun represents the masculine energy. It also represents the ego, the sense of self-actualization, as well as the moon is related to our feminine. It's that the way we connect to our emotions. It's the internal world. So this portal right now is really shining a light on where you are maybe putting more energy into one or the other. And in evaluating your masculine and your feminine polarities within, I truly believe is a direct correlation with understanding tantric union and that of emotional intelligence and emotional integration. Because even if you are, for example, in a more masculine pole in your life right now, and this is being brought up to you of like, oh my gosh, I work so hard, I'm constantly doing and like slowing down. What is that? That's like feels like a foreign concept. Or maybe you're on the other side of that and you're like so in your flow and just so in like receptivity that you've forgotten to create structures in your life, and it feels a little all over the place. So yeah, it's really important right now just to not judge yourself if things are coming up, because things are always coming up in our journey of being a human, right? It's a matter of how the intentionality, the space right now of the equinox is really providing, and all these retrogrades is providing you the space to just slow down and really take inventory. And the way I see it's kind of like a bow and arrow. It's like that bow and arrow is being pulled back. It's slow, but the pull is to eventually launch you into whatever it is in the next phase. So it's necessary, and that's how I see it as well. It's like it's absolutely necessary to go through these initiations. And the biggest thing I would invite anyone here to really embrace is surrender, right? The more we resist what's in front of us, it can bring up tension in our bodies. So allow
what you
it.
resist persists.
Yeah, exactly.
When you use force, you encounter resistance, right? It's very different than standing in your power.
Yes, standing in your power can be surrendering to the cosmic energies that are impacting all of us. I mean, we're 70% water, you know, and like that's why.
And look at how the moon affects the tides. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So to think that it doesn't affect us, that its movements don't affect us. I mean, the word lunacy and lunatic comes from luna, which means moon. People knew back then that it affects us. There was no question about it.
Yeah. I actually feel like if you are more attuned to your cyclical nature, if you are connected to, for example, to the moon mysteries, to regulating your nervous system, if you really honor yourself, for example, as a woman, I track my cycle. I'm very aware of my energy in different phases of my cycle. I really believe if you're more attuned to that, these retrograde periods, I think you're a little bit more easier. Like not easier, but it's a natural experience that you're already attuned to.
It's a part of the process.
Right? Like my inner winter.
Because you're not resisting it, you're not experiencing as much friction from it. It doesn't have to be an unpleasant process. Our resistance makes it unpleasant. You can surrender.
Yeah. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the days that are leading up to the period. It's like you're feeling your energy slowing down. And I could usually feel that energy. And it's like I'm going into the cave. And that's what I feel retrogrades are. They're literally the cave. And you are, in another word, chrysalis. You're going into that cocoon and you're allowing yourself to like unravel and you're metamorphosizing into something new. So it's really a chrysalis time. It's really an opportunity for you to develop those wings. And I think that's why Juno retrograde, for example, specifically Juno, it's like she's helping us to all develop our wings again and reassess them and adjust them and how we communicate to each other and what are our values at the end of the day. So.
And if you guys followed our podcast for any length of time, you know that we put out 3 episodes a month, not 4 episodes a month, because, for example, when Kendall is in the winter phase of her menstrual cycle, we take that week off and we focus on going within. We don't necessarily focus as much on putting our energies out there, nor dealing with the physical, dealing with the technical, dealing with the, it's a different time, and we honor that. And it's made the other 3 weeks, it's not necessarily time off. You're doing different things, different processes. And it makes the other 3 weeks that much more focused, that much more productive, I feel.
Yeah. I believe, if we are more attuned to the feminine in our lives, especially because we're in a very masculine world. I mean, it's very masculine. Like, it's almost revolutionary to attune to the feminine way. The feminine regenerative way of just, it's soft, it's receptive, it's counter, I think, initially intuitive because we've been so heavily programmed. The Matrix has so heavily programmed people to be in that masculine pole. Yeah, the invitation of unplugging from the Matrix is really to shift that narrative, and not even shift the narrative because that's like speaking from the head. It's shifting your embodiment, shifting how you
going from mind to body.
Yeah, shifting how you show up in your whole experience. And this is something I've been really much, very much shifting and attuning in my own journey. It's a whole body experience. You know, if you're wanting to change, if you're wanting to be a better person, or if you're, you know, wanting to heal this major wound that's coming up because of this cycle right now, it's gonna be confronting and yet can be the greatest initiator of your life if you allow it to be.
Well, Tantra historically has always been about challenging the status quo. The Tantrikas, the mystics that were drawn to it were the rebels, were the dissidents.
Yeah.
People told them, this is the religion, this is what you believe. They're like, no, we've had these experiences and we want to explore further and we want to be informed by our experiences and not beliefs that are handed down. You know, Osho was once asked about the religion of Tantra and he said, oh, no, Tantra is not a religion. Tantra is the cure for religion and for government because it challenges structures, societal norms, the nuclear family, monogamous relationships. Not that any of this is considered bad. It works for a lot of people. It's just called into question to see if it also works for the individual. And it's interesting because you mentioned Juno, okay? Juno is about commitments. but not just relationship commitments, the commitments we make to ourselves, the commitments we make to each other. It can be work commitments, life commitments like family. But Juno to me also speaks to commitment to routine. And are those routines still serving you or not? Like, call that into question. Don't live life on autopilot, but everything you do, kind of call it into question and see if it's still serving you. Or see if it can be improved or done a different way.
Absolutely.
Osho encourages you to brush your teeth with a different hand, to drive a different route to work. Just mix up your routines. Don't take for granted that they're serving you. You see, it's challenging the status quo almost in every single way. That's what Tantra is. I'm going to push on it a little bit. I'm going to test my boundaries, find my edges, push on it a little bit, see if it still works for me, see if it needs adjusting. It's like Tantra is also not a form of rebellion. I think it's like the ultimate self-improvement tool because you're constantly evaluating, testing, and adjusting based on what you experience. It's all about experience.
Yeah, I definitely feel with that experience. I think it's really the connection you have to your body and how it feels at any given moment. And I've danced a lot between these words of like the intuition plus also like the resistance. There's all these parts of even self-sabotage or fear and like the energy that resonates with courage. And yeah, when it comes to Tantra, when it comes to weaving of energy, it's attunement. The word that always comes to mind is, are you attuning yourself? Like, I'm asking myself a lot this, like, am I attuned to what's authentic for me in any given moment, right? Because at the core of Juno is also the shadow of Juno, which can really reveal itself as like the abandonment wound, the self-betrayal wound. And so the huge focus of Juno, and not only just looking at like commitments and sacred sexuality and love, but she is revealing too, it's for all of us. And it also depends on where this is landing in which house and which sign. But it's really inviting us to really consider, where are we abandoning ourselves? Where are we betraying? Where are we maybe giving our power away to our partners or to people, places, things that are, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel in balance. And that's where right now, more than ever, it's an opportunity to use your voice, to speak up and, exercise your will, essentially. And that's why, we brought up the sun earlier. The sun is self-actualization. And I think that's such a huge portion of Juno. She's like, yeah, relationship, awesome, making these connections. And also remember that you are your own entity, your own soul, who's come here with certain mission, essentially. To fulfill and move through. And that's where we can all come together with the people in our lives. And when we mention like take a moment to take a step back, become the observers, acknowledging who are the people in my closest circle, like really taking an opportunity. Are the people around you inspiring you, lifting you up, encouraging you to take that next step in your journey? Because this is the thing that I've personally done in this Juno time already. And we've experienced this in our conversations already. It's like, I've made this decision that I wanted to get into the room. I mean, I joined this experience called Money March, led by a multimillionaire woman. And I made the commitment, the decision that I was going to join all these like groups of powerful women and just committed myself to a mastermind as well around finances and wealth and prosperity and abundance. And I realized this was my dedication to myself of like, I want to get into the room where people are holding these realities. They're experiencing these realities. So I would just encourage everyone here. Yeah. Like just take inventory of your inner circle.
Well, that's also a part of shaking up routine because, I wish I could remember who said it, but somebody said, I don't want to be the smartest man in the room.
Yeah.
You're not going to grow. You're not going to learn. Like there's a lot to be said for being, I don't want to say dumb because that has a negative connotation, but you want to surround yourself with people that are further along the path than you are. Absolutely. That's how you're going to invite growth.
Yeah. The thing is about me, because Pluto and the moon are conjunct in my natal chart. in Scorpio. So literally my internal world's all about transformation. Pluto's like, that's my internal feminine. I'm here to transform all the time.
Well, I know that about you. You thrive on novelty. Whereas some people resist change, you thrive on it.
Well, I get to that point, but oh my gosh, my ego will resist, especially if I've become comfortable. And that's where it really requires sometimes a divine intervention. I mean, you've helped me tremendously to even just believing as a powerful woman in relationship, I could be supported by you as a man as I step into the audacity, right? The audacity to be like the first millionaire in my family, because like that's where I'm headed. And
without a job, right? Job, just over broke.
Right.
On your own power.
Yeah. And that's what I've been declaring for myself of like, who am I stepping into, or what is my highest self inviting me into? And usually if I am afraid of something of any kind, I remember when I started my journey around sacred sexuality, when I was a Christian, I was like, oh my gosh. My nervous system was like, this is so wrong. And I was still a Christian and still I was still in it. But I leaned into that discomfort and I challenged it because I knew something was inviting, that there was this energy, this gut instinct to follow it. And now sacred sexuality is like so normal to me. And that's what I'm utilizing right now in light of abundance code and wealth codes and how this is the other side of that coin. And I realize like, oh, yes, like bring it on. This is how I feel. I love, you talk about the word edging. My mentor actually just mentioned that as a new offering she's doing. It's called edging. And I was like, yes, it's like that moment before orgasm where you're just like, oh my God. Woo. And I don't know about you guys, but as a woman, this is what I do in my like self-pleasure rituals. It really helps in a lot of tantra, but it's a great analogy. But there are moments when like in that self-pleasure time, when I do feel the energy rising in my body, I encourage anyone, this is edgy, but I'm edgy.
Unintended.
Yeah. It's like, when I'm in these self-pleasuring rituals with myself, I do get to these moments where I pause intentionally and I will feel the energy and I will like literally like breathe it throughout my body, thinking about tantra. I like move that energy and I affirm to myself, I can hold this much power. I can hold this much vitality that is arousing me in so many ways that I don't even realize. And I'll continue to edge. And it's like, it's such a beautiful dance that I do with myself, but that's how I feel is how I personally live my life. And I think that's why these retrogrades, these portals are so cool, because they are the edge. They're the edge, and the edge is either you know that picture you show me about jumping off and like God catches you, and it's like no matter where you're at right now, whether it's like you're rock bottom and you're just asking yourself what is going on, if you're at the highest of highs, like it's a platform.
Well, it's not that God is just the hand. God is also the cliff you're jumping off of.
Yeah.
God is the cloud you're going to pass through on the way. Mm-hmm. God is also the person doing the jumping. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the idea. It's the universe playing with itself, really. The edging that you describe is the essence of Tantra. It's spending as much time as you can at that precipice. A lot of people think that the sexual part of Tantra, there's obviously more to Tantra than just this, but the sexual part of Tantra, a lot of people think it's about withholding orgasm, not having orgasm. No, it's about making the road to orgasm as long and as delicious as possible.
Yeah.
And staying at that precipice as long as you can, learning to be, the finer details, minute details of being in control of your experience. And then when you let yourself go over the edge, the end result of having taken that time and having that presence and awareness is the orgasm is that much more intense, that much more full body as opposed to just localized in one area. And we're not depriving ourselves of anything.
Yeah.
It's the practice of making the experience as intense and as encompassing as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really beautiful way you're describing it, I would definitely say. Yeah. It's regenerative.
It is. When done that way, it's regenerative instead of draining. There it is. Yes.
Yeah. And regenerative is such a powerful word. It's something that's really marinating in my ecosystem right now, and something I absolutely want for myself in a deeper way, but also for those who come into my inner circle and to our communities and who are listening, because regenerative is more sustainable and more, I feel, just easy on the nervous system. We live in such a, well, the matrix itself is so individuated, and not that your individuality is wrong or anything, but I think we've literally lost sight of this whole dance of like sustainability over time. And I know this is something that, is a opportunity for decolonization, even to begin unraveling itself one woman at a time, one man at a time. And it's a big invitation, I feel.
Well, here again, challenging the status quo. The status quo, the colonial, the capitalist view is that your self-worth is a result of your material security and your affluence. That is how value is measured, self-worth. Not that that's necessarily wrong, but is that the only way to measure self-worth? Like, I feel with a lot of these astrological movements, especially the generational ones like Pluto, like society's values are shifting at the individual level and at the societal. Like, we're starting to break free from some of those colonial confines.
What are the major ones you're seeing right now that have like really moved you or shifting something in you right now? Because I know you're really passionate about so much of this in society right now. I mean, you talk to me a lot about it.
Well, I see so much of it. I mean, you look at the millennial generation versus like the baby boomers or Gen X. So many more of them are self-employed. The ones that will take a corporate job are insisting on remote work from home. You know, there's a new online culture, new way of doing things. They don't want to sit in a cubicle all day. They don't take any crap. Whereas, like my generation, it was normal to change jobs a few times as you climb the corporate ladder. That already made people like my parents nervous, who pretty much from college till retirement stayed in one job. Right?
Yeah, same with my parents.
Millennials are changing jobs, if they even take them, at a rate that makes me dizzy. And I thought, I changed jobs often early on for the first half of my life, and then I became self-employed and there was no looking back.
Right.
Like, the new generation starting there, like, they only consider a job really if nothing else works. It's the last resort. It's not the first thing they think of. Oh, I went to college, I need to find a job. The trend is really, there's the gig economy, there's entrepreneurship, there's like, that's a big shift I'm seeing. Like, you don't sit and wait for a handout from some big corporation. People are building their own life. Deconstruction, obviously. Part of the reason we're seeing Project 2025 and such a big power grab, I think, by the church and by the religious right, is because they're frightened. They see their grip slipping. Church attendance is at an all-time low. Why? Because people are finding other alternate ways of connecting more directly with spirituality. They're not asking somebody for all the answers. So the big shift I'm seeing, and I think it lines up with where Pluto came out of and where Pluto's going into, that is the generational shift. The last time this happened, we had the American-French revolutions. We had a similar star alignment over Europe when the Roman Empire fell. Like, these are the times when people challenge societal norms. The other place I'm seeing it is relating styles. You want to trigger a room full of people, you mention polyamory. Everybody will have a reaction. A third of the room will be offended, right? A third of the room will be triggered, and a third of the room will be like, tell me more. But there's not going to be a single person in the room not having a reaction.
Right.
And yet I'm seeing this topic discussed on not just podcasts, but major radio talk shows.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it brought up on television shows. NPR just rebroadcasted a 1-hour BBC special on it. Like, you see on the social posts, like, it's a topic that's very quickly coming into the mainstream. much more than it used to. I'm not saying it is mainstream. It's like it's psychedelics. It's starting to become more accepted, or at least people are approaching it with genuine curiosity. Whereas before, just like psychedelics, you mentioned psychedelics before, you're like, a social outcast. Now therapists are taking it seriously. Now it's been legalized for therapy in some states. So the same kind of renaissance I'm starting to see. And I'm not suggesting one way of relating is better than another way of relating. We each have to find our own. And even within polyamory, I think there's as many variations of it as there are people practicing it, frankly. It's a very individualized practice, and that is the point. That is the point. You're asking me what is the biggest societal shift? We're not taking necessarily somebody else's values as our own. We're questioning them and we're adjusting them to fit ourselves, whether it's in the area of employment or religion or how we relate. I see a lot more individualization. People are adapting things to their own way of doing it.
Absolutely. And we're in Aries season too. Like it's heavy in the Aries. Aries is about the self, the sense of self. So it's very important because, you can be part of the collective, but if you're disconnected from yourself, it's going to be hard to actualize. It's going to be hard to essentially even receive new information that's outside of the collective. And what I mean by that is I was so personally caught up in so much of the community and the collective aspect that my brain wasn't able to think outside the box. It was very I can imagine my neurons and everything were just really tense, and the opportunity to shift wasn't as malleable. Is that the word? So yeah, I feel there's probably a deeper connection there of the younger generations just having more of an open mind and maintaining that open mind. And I think it also has to do with awareness, education. I think because of social media, and I know there's multiple sides of this coin and there's the shadow realms of anything, right? But I think people are more educated in ways, and information is more readily accessible, and there's just a conversation. People are realizing that they want to live their lives.
Things are spreading around the world at the speed of thought.
Yeah.
Ideas, news, all of it. Opinions.
And being able to empower yourself, to know yourself, and to understand your creative voice, and create something from that is very powerful. It's there's a sense of just deep reverence for that. And I know for me, personally, I'm on that journey as well of just constantly reevaluating of how can I be the best version of myself. That's the only thing we really can control is our own relationship to ourselves.
Well, let's speak into that. So the capitalistic, the colonial way of evaluating self-worth is material wealth.
Yeah.
In this new paradigm, what are some other ways to define self-worth, to measure self-worth? I'll start.
Yeah.
How much you've grown compared to your former self is one. How many lives are you impacting beyond just your own? That's one way I've measured personal. If I was to define successful, how much of an impact am I having? How am I affecting the world? So those are two that readily come to mind for me. Do you have any? What are some other ways to measure self-worth or evaluate self-worth? Or should we even? Maybe is the bigger question. Maybe that's the new paradigm. Maybe we don't need a new way to define ourselves. Maybe we need to let go of the need to define ourselves.
Ooh, that's edgy. Yeah, I mean, So I think there's multiple sides of this. It's a big conversation. Self-worth is directly connected to how you love yourself, how you show up for yourself. And I'll be honest, there's been multiple times in initiations and awareness moments where I've oh my gosh, I'm not loving myself fully in this area. I can think about, anything from just even fitness, for example, and around winter, just not working out as much and then realizing, oh, like, I want to get back into this. Like, there's always moments, right? So self-worth for me, and this is such a big part of my journey, is really just how am I showing up for myself? How am I talking to myself? How am I showing up for my body? You know, am I listening to my body, or am I ignoring the body's signals? Like, it's really a self-conversation. Like, how am I attending to my needs, my desires? Am I giving myself the space to experience them? You know, for example, one of the big things that you have even encouraged me around worth is encouraging me to, I think it was like 8 weeks ago, like launching a dance experience. And it ended up being an initiation into my own 8-week experience, honestly. And what I realized, talk about self-worth, the biggest thing I learned was, even through, well, quote unquote, I don't see it as a failure, but in business terms, you could see it as a failure because it didn't bring in people to the experience past the first day. But what it taught me, and this is what I'm taking now as a new version of myself moving forward, is like, I realized the lesson in that I'm worth showing up for myself and having a dance studio space every week. Mm-hmm. And I've done that consistently. And I realized the lesson of what is self-worth. Self-worth is realizing I was worth, and I still am, having the space for me to just create. And
You're worth it. You're worth it is what this experience taught you. And what I really love is you've been taking time for yourself to do your own creative, artistic explorations and giving yourself an outlet. And then you use some of the time to make really terrific content because it's a really cool space. You know, and you guys, if you've been on her Instagram at the Tantric Mystic, you know, some really cool stuff came out as a result of that experience. And it shows me once again, the universe doesn't always give you what you want, but it always gives you what you need. Yeah. In any given moment. And it gave you something you didn't even know you needed.
Yeah. Well, it was, I definitely knew I needed it. It was more of just getting myself in the room. And sometimes that's the struggle in of itself. Okay. And if anything, like getting into the room now, it's been such a divine mirror work journey. I mean, I literally have confronted so many aspects of myself, my inner child, my inner teen. I mean, literally it's me, myself, and I in that studio. No one's at the studio. It's like, I feel like it's my own studio, but it's really cool because it's helped me understand the energy of stewarding yourself into yourself, right? And I've been able to create something out of nothing. You know what I mean? It's all from within. Like, for example, last Friday, when I go on Fridays, I didn't have any kind of real agenda. I kind of had an idea that I might do some content, but I literally got in there and I just started finding some real songs and just flowed. And I realized so deeply, like, the most beautiful thing I can give to the world is my authentic self.
And for those that don't know, in a dance studio, because maybe, you know, there's people that have never been in one, one of the 4 walls is usually all mirrors, like floor to ceiling, corner to corner is all mirrors. So when she says doing mirror work, she literally means doing mirror work, observing herself. And did the content start flowing for you, or did it come as a result of maybe doing that mirror work and like what you saw from yourself? Like, describe the process maybe. You walk in, you stretch out, settle in.
Well, it's sacred. It's more and more sacred for me because I really like alone time. I mean, there's time though where I would like want others around. But for me, like a studio, I've grown up dancing my whole life. And so for me, it's like a coming home. It's almost like, oh my gosh, there's a dance floor. It smells like people have been dancing all day here. So there's like a comfort to that, but the process has been me really working specifically with goddess archetypes and specifically allowing myself to initiate myself through, for example, goddesses like Lilith, and really attuning myself to her wisdom and allowing myself to seduce myself in the mirror and really create fun dance cardio workouts with these goddesses to really awesome songs, and then watching it back and just being like, ooh, like it's not about the perfection. It's about the permission. It's like, oh, I'm actually using my body. And that's, to me, the biggest thing that has helped me with my mental health that I love about dancing and just getting into the studio. I feel my best when I feel strong. And this has been something I've been shifting in my self-love and my fitness journey is like, for example, I'm on a journey to, of course, lose some weight and become more fit. But the biggest thing that the dividend, the return on my investment is the feeling of I feel strong. I feel like I put myself in this situation to transform and to face myself. And I mean, even the first time we went together, I put on the Abracadabra song by Lady Gaga, and I just tapped. I had my tap shoes on. I hadn't tapped in a long time, and I literally had a cathartic release. I tapped like I was fighting for my life, which I was. You know, I was like literally just having gone through like feeling down, depressed. I mean, winter can be really hard on me, you know, seasonal depression. And getting into that dance studio, you know, getting onto that tap board and then crying at the end. I knew I was crying with my inner child, and I was like, ooh. It was like a heart to heart with me and my inner mother and her. And that was like when I decided, I was like, I'm going to the studio and I'm going to put this out as an offering to the San Diego community. And like 9 women showed up. I was like, whoa. But nonetheless, like it ended up being me and myself and I, but now I feel more integrated. And that's what I think this retrograde has helped me see.
That was really powerful to witness, by the way, you guys. And it was really powerful and beautiful and an honor to film. And this is on her Instagram feed. You should check it out. It's a powerful performance. There's so much emotion and passion that comes through in that. I know something else like with us too. Dance is wonderful for moving energy, for getting energy unstuck. Right? Yeah. In Tantra, we even say breath, sound, movement. That's the 3 pillars, the 3 foundations. It strikes me that this is a form of conflict resolution. You're resolving conflict within yourself, any potential stuck energy or conflict within yourself. But it also reminded me of, because we were talking about balancing emotions and navigating some of these intense energies and intense changes. Like, it also occurs to me when you and I have had conflict. And by the way, guys, you know, we're not above this stuff because we teach about relationships and Tantra and things like this. Like, we have our challenges, we have our conflicts. And especially, you know, during this intense energy, we've had some too. I've noticed the key to conflict resolution very often is movement. Whether it's wrestling or one of us finally puts on some cute song and we end up dancing together. We've had sword duels before. You know, because we both have theater backgrounds. But like, I've noticed how much of the time, like, yes, there's dialogue, but oftentimes we need movement first to move the energy. And then we can get to the point of constructive dialogue. Like, movement really is key to conflict resolution.
Yeah.
Or can be a very effective tool. I'm not saying it's the only tool, but I'd like, as you were speaking into it, how cathartic it is for yourself, I realized there's been a lot of cathartic moments in our relationship too that were just the result of dancing together.
Yeah, and it's also knowing yourself too. Like for me, I'm a pretty intense individual. I'm not going to lie. Like I have a lot of energy and I have a lot of like Scorpio, Pluto. That's like really intense. That actually is the Hades moon. That is the witch, like one of the most intense witch energies. And I was told this by another woman who's a witch. And when I realized this, I was like, oh, no wonder, you know? So I just know myself in that. And I know that I need that space in order for me to to really shift it. It's because here's the thing. There, as an artist, I think artists have such a beautiful gift in that artists are here to convey the multidimensionality of the human experience. And so whatever outlet an artist chooses, I fully endorse that person to give fully to it. So like, for example, I'm not just a dancer, I'm a writer. And what I personally do, and one of my other methods that I initiate into my journey besides dancing is like writing. So it's like being able to know when there's a certain emotion that's coming up for you. For example, if you're feeling love or you're feeling frustration or about certain XYZ, creating from that place and transmuting it into responsiveness is embodied power. You know, like for example, I'm writing a book right now, and there's been some little moments in that where I've written from a place of acknowledging, I feel the collective unconscious pain around this, and I'm going to speak directly to the woman who I think would benefit from this. Like I speak to myself through my writing. That's the same way I show up for my dancing. I dance to show up for what is coming through, even if it's quote unquote a lot or too much. It's the point is to see my a lotness so I can release that energy, because I think the too muchness, that's so much is like, you know, keeping and maintaining the status quo of like, enabling essentially patriarchy is this whole like women feeling like they can't be too much or that they have to be a certain way. So yeah, like,
well, that speaks right into the core of the witch's wound.
Yeah.
If you stand up and speak up and use your voice, there will be punishment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's also too like, I really resonate with like Pallas Athena, like the warrior archetype. And it's not always that, but in this season of my life, I feel, especially with Venus rebirthing herself right now, she's a warrior in my heart. Like she's a priestess, but she's also a warrior. And I feel that so deeply. And so like that's actually what's coming out and translating into my dancing and why I'm developing these dance cardio workouts with the goddess. Because I really believe, I mean, there's literally one woman I'm following and she's using like swords, teaching women how to sword. Mm-hmm. And, you know, there's just like this warrior being birthed right now. I think people, especially women, are feeling that like divine mother come through. And I think it's perhaps part of this retrograde eclipse, all this portal we're in. To reclaim these parts of us.
Well, because, I mean, that is the shift. Like you said, It's become too masculine, too focused on the material world, too, I would say, focused on the intellectual world. Like there's a lot of science and less mysticism. Yeah. Also, like, I know, like with my dad, he always had this habit. I mean, he meant well. He was always looking to educate me. But whenever I had a mystical or spiritual experience or question, he always found a scientific way to explain it away, not realizing that he took some of the magic of it away from me.
Yeah.
And that's okay. The intellectual knowledge also has a place, but you need a balance of both. You need physical and spiritual. You need the 3D world, and you need the 5D, the dream world, the etheric world, right? You need every bit as much emotion as you do intellectual. You need every bit as much some of these other qualities we spoke into as you need commercial, as you need physical. So it comes right back to, it feels like this yin-yang balance, masculine, feminine. We say masculine, feminine is just a way to describe it, you guys. We're not talking about gender. We're talking about energy. We can just as easily say yin and yang. Like, whether we look at economic systems, whether we look at political systems, whether we look at intellectual versus emotional, whether we look at scientific versus mystical, like it all speaks to me about a yin and yang imbalance.
It also reminds me of the visual that's coming up as you're talking about this. I've had the honor to dance most of my life, all my life actually. And I've danced in so many kind of contexts of, like, I can think of when I was dancing for a contemporary dance company, or growing up, passionately dancing, tap dancing, and going to all these festivals and all these things. The greatest way I can describe how I feel with the feminine and the masculine is through dance specifically, and sure, like writing, but to me, it's the invitation and the visual of the feminine is really like going into your safe space, like whether you're at home in your bedroom or you're at a park or you're at a dance studio, whatever the place, and shuffling on your phone, on Spotify or wherever you listen to music, choosing a song and allowing yourself to be moved by it. Because this is something I love to do. I've been doing this for a long time, talking about like not thinking our way through things, but like feeling our way. This is like what dancers do. We feel, we become one with the music. And that is Tantra. That is, you are becoming one with it, and you are allowing it to speak through you. And what I love now, because I've gone through like so many aspects of dance, from competitive to performing on cruise lines to competition, just so many aspects. And the healing that I love right now, that's really moving me in so many ways, is putting on a song and just letting myself go. Like letting myself, it's like therapy, like this dance is therapy to me. Dance is like, okay, how I see it, my inner masculine's like, okay, you're angry. Find a song that resonates with anger and now move to it and move that. And I'm also really grateful because I'm a choreographer too. So I happen to have this like, so I'm angry. Okay, so I'm going to like make this like tribal dance, and I have these playlists. I really do. I have playlists for all moments of my even cycle or energies that I'm vibing with. I have a shamanic playlist when I'm really wanting to be like Mother Earth. Like earlier today, I was listening to it. Like even when I'm driving around, I'll like, it's really interesting to notice my internal world, because I'll be like shamanic song one moment, and the next song I'm listening to Gaga, and I'm like, this is me. This is my personality. Like, that's the multidimensional woman. It's like all of it.
You shift as the energy shift, and I've seen you. You'll put on a banger and rock out to it, and then from that suddenly you might do a song or two like that, and suddenly you shift into like the softest, most ethereal thing, and you just like I can tell now you're like integrating. Now you're kind of processing what came through, and I've heard a lot of great artists. What you describe in dance, where it's almost like not even you thinking your way through the steps, but the music is moving you. Something is coming through your body.
Yeah.
I've heard singers describe singing the same way. They said
it's magical.
There's a point where you are no longer trying to sing. You just open the channel and something comes through you. I've heard writers describe their writing that way, where they're just struggling to keep up. Something's clearly coming through them. Painters, like I've heard a lot of people kind of say this, that like there's a point at which like the process, you're no longer in control of the process takes over. And something comes through you, something leads you somewhere, and maybe you're just a little bit changed at the other end of it.
Yeah. I do exercises. I've led workshops around this of like helping people to trust other people and get out of their heads and just really just move and feel. It's like, contact improv will do that. Mirror dancing with somebody else will really do that. It's powerful. It's really powerful. It's something I had to unlearn from like structured movement to unlearning structure and just allowing myself to improv. But I love improv. It's so fun, especially tap dancing. Like put on a beat and I will just shred. I will just like listen to the rhythm. And that's because I can become the music. I mean, become the musician. That's like, you as a drummer, you just feel it. You're just like, oh, okay. It's just a vibe. You create the vibe.
I loved it. It was like, it was a form of therapy at first, really. And I never considered drums. I grew up playing violin, and then I've plunked around with piano here or there. Like, drums was not an instrument I ever even considered. No. It was just, I was at a party sitting on the kitchen table one night, and like I often do, like there was a good song on, I was grooving to it, I lost myself, I was tapping along with it, and somebody walked up, they're like, oh, do you play the drums? I'm like, no. They're like, you should. And I'm like, huh? Oh, well, okay, I'll take a drum lesson. I'll just hire a drum teacher for an hour and just try it out, take a drum lesson. And I was hooked.
There you go.
I was hooked. It was another form of dancing, really, is what it was, because you're using your feet and your hands. You're using the full body to express the music.
Yeah.
It was another form of, and I was, after that first time, I was hooked.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing? I think that's the beautiful thing about life, and thinking about like what we've been talking about this whole episode of like, life is so beautiful in that we get to discover these things about ourselves. We allow life to show us what resonates, what lights us up. And I think that's the beautiful thing about life. And it lit you up that day, and dance lights me up. A lot of the time. There are moments, I'll be honest, when like I don't feel like doing dancing. And that's another tantric kind of key point, is recognizing too, like wherever the energy is, at least I'm speaking for as a generator in the human design, my job is to respond to energy, like to respond to my environment. And yeah, it's been really nice to know, like some days I like this more than others. And it's like some days I write a lot, some days I'm like not as writing as much, but.
Well, that's a part of it. That's that awareness. That's that attunement. What your body needs at any given time, what your emotional body needs at any given time.
Yeah. We're cyclical. We're not linear. We're not like,
what you're thirsty for spiritually at any given time. Yeah.
Yeah. There's nuance there, balance, finding balance between structure and flow.
Actually, I was just about to speak into that, beloved, actually, because there's the other balance, right? There's this craving for stability.
Right.
That's perhaps the masculine, the structure. And then there's the craving for new experiences, right? For variety. And it's finding that perfect balance between the two.
You know what it reminds me of? When you go on vacation. Like for me, I love to plan for the most part, especially when you go on vacation. I remember when we went, was it Vegas we went to, or in Italy? Like I was like itinerary, I wrote it out. I was like, this is when we're flying. And like, I broke it all down. And
it was both of them, actually.
but the thing I liked though was I was giving myself permission, even when we got there. But I had to surrender. It was like pivoting. It's like finding that flow and recognizing, even if you go somewhere with an agenda, like things could always shift. You might meet someone and they'll be like, "Oh, come and join our party or whatever. Or, come join us on the beach," and you're like, okay, so I think that's the dance of life. And
I'm being faced with deviating from the plan.
Oh, yeah.
But it's almost like, but that's never been an issue. It's almost like you make a plan so you have the freedom to deviate from it. You've got the essentials covered. And when you're done deviating, you can check the plan to see where to kind of meet back up with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
that's
almost
freedom.
It's almost giving yourself the container to have the freedom.
Exactly.
Whereas without that structure, almost like you could go with the flow, but there's the chance of it descending into chaos.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's literally what's motivating me so much right now, and up-leveling myself in these like groups and helping our union and me becoming a better version of myself. So that level of freedom is like, absolutely, like, then life is just totally on a different wavelength, where you're like, okay, universe, who do you have for me to meet today,
And that's just it. The generational shift that's happening because of the astrology is in a way enabling and empowering the personal shifts.
Oh, yeah.
Meanwhile, the more of us that experience and successfully navigate these personal shifts, the more you're impacting the environment as well, right? You know, that I mentioned it in a prior episode. Like there's a story where a disciple comes to Osho and he says, you know, now that I have this greater awareness, like I can't help but feeling down, like I'm more aware of everything that's wrong with the world, and what can I do? And Osho says, keep working on yourself.
Yeah.
Because the greatest gift you can give the world is another enlightened being. By shifting yourself, you also shift the collective. You also shift the world. So it's like this symbiotic relationship, right? What's without shifts what's within, and the moment you shift what's within, you can also have an impact on what's without.
Yeah. Yeah. Like when you go within yourself and you face yourself, I mean, literally, I found so much pleasure in meeting my darkest of shadows. Like I've really been noticing that, especially in the last 48 hours, honestly. And I think this is how I see it. It's like the more you see yourself, the more, at the end of the day, it's you and you. And that's super intense, especially if you're in union, you know, it's like, oh, like I could project, I could point the other finger, but the reality is like, oh no, this is like my own initiation. And acknowledging like our going within ourselves and facing ourselves, like, yeah, that is such a good vibe. I really so passionate about going within. It's like an everyday conversation. Self-evaluation, self-reflection. It's how you know yourself, right?
Well, that kind of, I guess, yeah, to sum up the conversation, Juno makes you reevaluate commitments. And not just the romantic ones, but all your commitments to see which ones are serving you and which ones need to be adjusted. That's what Juno going into retrograde means. Venus being in retrograde, yes, she centers around love, but she also centers around money. She was the goddess of both.
Yeah.
And interestingly, she was both worshipped and revered, but also feared in her time. Like, there was a lot about her that was unsettling for people. Here again, probably challenging the accepted norms. So whereas, you know, I've seen some doom and gloom posting where people are like, Venus is in retrograde, you're going to break up. Right? No, Venus is inviting you to look at the areas that are still unhealed.
Yeah.
Like in many ways, like, you know, I mean, it's been intense energy. It's been intense emotion. We're not going to lie to you guys during this period. And there's more to come. This is going to go on for 4 months.
Juno.
But like, I feel you and I have grown stronger and closer together. There's been real moments of intimacy, of intimacy.
Oh, yeah.
You see what I mean? So Venus retrograde, to me, now I've come to view it a different way. It's an invitation to heal that which has been unhealed, to look at that which has been ignored.
Everything we're going through so we can not only empower ourselves, but support other people.
Bingo.
If we choose.
Well, exactly. One influences the other. Yeah. And like the only real breakup that's guaranteed is a breakup with that's no longer serving you.
Honestly, the breakup with oneself. the pattern or the behaviors that are limiting you from going to your next level. And it's like, oh, your ego will fight tooth and nail, like, holding on for dear life. And you're like, yeah, it's scary. But those ego deaths, man, those dark nights of the soul are absolutely necessary. And here's the thing. We have traversed these worlds. We are I'm so used to it. At this point, I'm like, okay, bring it on, universe. Well, be kind to me. But, you know, it's like, but it's so pleasurable to me. It's like the
catharsis
intimacy,
is like orgasm in a
but
way.
the intimacy, like we even felt, what was it, last night, or like just me weeping and like just seeing this new level of connection. I was like, I saw you in a deeper way. I was like, oh my God, you're a cosmic being. What? You're like, it was just like, whoa, you know what I mean? And not on like, oh, like you were like, it was just reverence. And I like, it came through like a tidal wave. And like,
it was mutual. It was
you
mutual.
Know what I mean?
saw the divine in you too. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what it is. Like, that's it.
And that's
finding the divine in each other. It's powerful.
That's the yin and yang. That's kind of the contrast of it. I mean, Juno is a goddess. Juno is also an asteroid.
Yeah.
Do not forget that it was an asteroid that killed the dinosaurs, right? And yet, during this time lies this profound opportunity for healing. I want to encourage you guys, if you need guidance and support during this time, like, you're not alone. These are intense energies. As I mentioned, Kendall can be found at the Tantric Mystic on Instagram. I can be found at Andre Night Awakening on Instagram. Reach out and get in touch. You can get in touch with us at tantricawakening.net. We'll be launching an online community very soon to help us all connect. But until then, you can leave your name and email address, and we'll send you an invitation when that launches. But you can find us at tantricawakening.net. There's links there to the current offerings we do have, and also at tantric.awakening on Instagram. Kendall is an amazing astrologer, and she looks at astrology in what I would say are very unique ways that I don't see a lot of other astrologers doing. Composite charts. I forget what they're called, like the present chart. Like, maybe you can speak into it.
Yeah, I look at it from, composite synastry charts. That's really looking at your relationships, whether that be you and your granddaughter or you and your partner. And I offer chart readings for focusing a lot on the goddess asteroids. I don't even just look at like the major planets, but I look at Venus and I look at 4 major goddesses and a lot of witchy goddesses as well. So I do like a asteroid goddess Venus reading with the natal chart. And I do offer solar return charts, which is something great for your birthday if you're having a birthday coming up to see the theme of your year. I also do a
good gift for somebody that has one coming up.
Yeah, and I also have a natal chart reading where I can also look at your progress chart, which a progress chart is really looking at your soul's growth and evolution through time, it's a really snapshot in time to see what your soul's why is in this time. And I know for so many of us, and I know I've asked myself this, is like, why am I here? And then you realize, I look at your progress chart and like, your soul's wanting to learn this right now for the next 2.5 years. Oh, okay, cool. So it really provides the clarity to understand your cosmic soul's reason for being here. And it helps you understand yourself. So if you've ever you feel like no one understands you, which is something I've really have dealt with in my journey, especially in my journey, astrology has been a gift that continues to give back to me. And it's a cosmic family. I mean, literally, it's a snapshot of all these planets at the moment of your birth. You chose to come into this earth plane at a certain time in a certain family, certain city, so you can experience the personality and all these energies associated with it. So, yeah, would love to connect with you and support you in any way.
And then once you uncover things, one of the modalities in my toolbox is hypnotherapy, and a very specific type of hypnotherapy that if you discover some wounds from the past, whether it's from this life or a past life, once you discover some limiting beliefs that have been holding you back, or maybe you need help discovering if you have limiting beliefs and what they are, I can access the subconscious and I can reprogram that. Not currently, but back then. This is why I think hypnotherapy is so much more powerful than regular traditional talk therapy, is we can go back and correct it back then. Right? So you have the benefit of not having carried that weight all these years, plus the benefit of having been healed all these years by healing it back then.
Yeah.
So you can get years and years, if not decades, of therapy in literally one session, literally reprogram yourself. So there's the uncovering. And the reason I mention this, you guys, is we're putting together an offering that combines some of these modalities. So you can do a reading and learn about yourself. You can do the reprogramming of things you find that you might want to correct about yourself. And then you can take it a step further, where we can design a custom ritual or a rite of passage for you to go through
Yeah.
now that you've done this healing work. So these retrogrades, these things that are happening in the sky cannot become scary things that challenge you, perhaps like they may have in the past, but these are opportunities for growth and for transformation.
Yeah.
That's really what we want to offer you. And you can check the show notes for more information about that, or go to tantricawakening.net and either give us your info and we'll reach out with this information, or you can scroll down, look below, and click to find it. But you're not alone. You don't have to go through this alone. There are people who love you and are ready and willing to serve you and support you through this. Just these are opportunities. Don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid of growth.
Yeah.
These are opportunities. That's Tantra.
Yeah. Well, I consider Tantra as well. Like, we are doulas. We're like doulas of transition.
That's
And
it.
helping people's souls transition into new levels of consciousness.
I've always called myself a personal alchemist. What is alchemy? It's transformation.
Yeah.
It's the art of transformation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there we are.
Yay.
At the end of another episode. It's been beautiful, Kendall. Thank you so much for your insights and wisdom and for dancing with me.
Yeah. It's been fun.
It has. And thank you for
Thank
joining us.
you.
We enjoyed this time together. And we will see you next week, you guys.
All right. See you all later.